If you think that being an entrepreneur means heading out to your family garage armed with a good idea and an Amex card, think again. Being an entrepreneur could also mean buying a company and rejigging it to make it run better. At least that's the opinion of INSEAD Professor of Entrepreneurship Timothy Bovard. Welcome to INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you.
Okay, how does buying a company make you an entrepreneur?
First of all, there's a lot of people who consider themselves fixers, much more than the idea people. Sure, if you have a great idea to start a company, go for it, run with it. But many entrepreneurs are very good at taking existing companies and making them much better than they have been in the past, and give them the same sort of a destiny that a startup could have.
So they're tinkerers, more or less. They probably go around saying, I could make that car run better or whatever.
Right, because a company could be excellent in its home market, but maybe needs to be developed internationally. Or perhaps the existing management has hit a spot in the road where results are not doing very good and they don't know how to fix it. Somebody else can come in and do it.
So then, is it hard to find a company to buy? I guess there may be many that are on the block or are for the right price, but how do you go about looking for one? I mean, is it like buying a house or what?
When we're talking about entrepreneurial acquisitions, we're talking about companies, small and medium-sized companies. So essentially the market is vast. It's, I wouldn't say infinite, but it's vast. So any entrepreneur that's going out to look for a company sets up search criteria, very much like you do, as you mentioned, looking for a house. I want this kind of company in this sector, in this geography, with this kind of business problem. And you start looking. And you're going to come across a company. You're going to say, ah, that's not for me. But when you start looking more and more, you'll find companies, and eventually you'll find the right one for you. So it's very personal, actually.
And is there any way of knowing what your comfort zone is without testing it and possibly losing your shirt at the same time?
Well, I think it is a lot of introspection and just being honest with yourself. So, sometimes we delude ourselves. And I think another important thing is to have people around you who can look you in the eye and say, wait a minute, it's a great company, but it's not for you.
So you really have to be aware.
Yes.
So
you
it's
have to
not,
be honest.
it's more than, that's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
It's almost as hard as getting the money to do this. I mean, you're contending that you can do it without a lot of money, but how?
I think the hardest part is finding the company. If you find the company and you have a clear vision of exactly what needs to be done to develop it or to turn it around or whatever the objective is, and if you can prove to yourself and to others that you're the right person for that, that there's a match, so it's a very personal endeavor. If you can prove that match, you can find the money. There's investors who obviously invest in startups. There's a different class of investors that invest in management buy-ins or management buyouts because it's a different asset class.
So you have to really prepare a business plan that is compelling and go out and get somebody else's money.
I think the first thing to do is prepare an action plan. I think very often we jump in and do a business plan, which is all about a spreadsheet with numbers. If you start with the actions that are going to be the pillars for that business plan and have a clear road path, exactly where you're going to take the company, what actions you're going to do, whether it's the first 100 days or the first year, once you have that, you can translate that into to the numbers that can then convince potential investors and bankers.
So, I mean, is this for the more mature entrepreneur? I can't see somebody in his early 30s doing this, or am I wrong?
Well, actually, I think the fact that there's an existing management team makes it easier for a younger person, because you can come into a business that has, like I said, a track record, it has cash flow, it has markets, it has customers, and it has a team. And so actually, I think it's easier.
So, but how does the company react to this?
Well, of course, it's going to depend on the situation the company's in. There can be a question of succession, in which case an older entrepreneur or manager, owner will pass it on to a new entrepreneur. It's how he's presented to the company. But I think often what I've seen is that they're quite welcome, because the people in the company, the workers, the employees, they're very aware that there needs to be a change for one reason or another. And as long as the entrepreneur coming on board takes the time to present himself, show the vision of where he wants to go, then it can be very successful.
What are some of the criteria that you suggest to people that they use in terms of what the company is? Are you looking for distressed companies or companies that could do better, maybe aren't in serious trouble, or what?
For people coming out of an MBA program or younger managers, I think the first criteria should be to find good companies. It's better to pay a little more and get a company that's got a strong balance sheet, it's got good cash flows, so that if this is your first time going out managing, you're not in a situation where you take one little misstep and the company goes down. So I think you need to find a good, solid company. I think you need to be very clear of where you want to be in terms of geography, because it can have language considerations or just lifestyle considerations. And then where your past skill set fits in terms of solving the business problems that are crucial for this business.
What are some mistakes that people make when they go out and do this? You must have seen some. People come in with ideas and you think, yeeks, that's not going to work.
I think the biggest mistake is that people put a lot of pressure on themselves to go out and find a company quickly. And you have to understand that it can take 18 to 24 months to find a company. And so you have to be patient. And as time moves on, people get more and more impatient and are more likely to jump at an opportunity that's good but not perfect for them. And it's better to pass on that and wait for something that is better. You'll decrease your risk considerably.
Sometimes there's not a lot of money available for entrepreneurial activities, but perhaps buying a company is enough of something easy to understand that you could find more money for it. I mean, the European Investment Bank put aside more money for SMEs, for example. Maybe you can get more for buying one. I mean, is it more acceptable to be this kind of entrepreneur in Europe?
Well, I think it's clear that being an entrepreneur in Europe is less the role model of business that it is in the United States, where entrepreneurs really are seen as locomotives and the heroes of business. Whether an entrepreneur doing a buyout is less considered the enemy that maybe a startup entrepreneur would be, yeah, probably, just because it's less well known. Entrepreneurial acquisitions do not have the aura that startups do, and so you probably go under the radar a bit. And like I said, there are lots of sources of funding for these kinds of entrepreneurial ventures, and so it's not a problem.
I'm just wondering, though, in today's business world, what do you think the outlook is, specifically in the economic crisis, for entrepreneurial activity? You think they're still going to be easy to find this kind of money, maybe easier, harder?
In terms of the money, there's a lot of money out in terms of cash for investing by investors, private equity funds. That's not the problem. Bank debt clearly has dried up to a large extent, and that's being replaced by seller debt, which means that the seller of a company is going to have to take a deferred payment to make the ends meet for the new buyers. But that's become a given, and I think sellers are quite aware of that.
My last question has to do with one that I'm sure you've been asked this a lot before, but what does it take to be an entrepreneur?
Passion, hard work, vision, leadership. Actually it's a complex mixture of talents, which is why it's not for everybody, where you not only have to have ideas, be a problem solver, but be a leader. Much more than a manager, I'd say. You have to be a leader because you're at the head of this company, and you have to show people where you're going, make them believe, and make them just as excited as you are. Entrepreneurship is all about passion. That's the name of the game.
Timothy Bovard, thank you very much for being with us on INSEAD Knowledge.
You're welcome.